We're engaging communications leaders and exploring how our jobs have changed since the pandemic. I'm thrilled to be here today with Sheryl So, the head of public relations for Shopify, Canada's largest publicly traded company, and arguably the engine that has helped small businesses survive and even thrive during the pandemic. Hi, Sheryl.
Hi, Rowan. How are you doing?
I'm really great. Thanks for joining me today. To say that 2020 has been a busy year for Shopify would be a massive understatement. And in fact, your CEO Tobias Lutka called it a pretty explosive time where you've been focused on shipping everything that you've got to help small businesses survive the pandemic. Love to know what the role of your team has been in shaping the pandemic strategy at Shopify.
I'm very proud of the team, and it was a lot of hustle. There was no rule book. There's no precedence for any of this. And we just kind of had to use a lot of intuition. We had to kind of rely on our wits and just empathy for if we were merchants and we were small business owners and we were consumers, how would we want to be communicated to? This is not the time to think about superficial needs. We have to kind of think about, okay, what do merchants need right now to survive? We also had to talk to just Canadians, Americans, we're a global company, just all these markets about if you have never gone online before, now is the time, or you're just not going to survive.
Can you give us an example of something that you're particularly proud of, or something that was particularly innovative in the way that you approached it to enable you to directly reach the audience that you needed to reach, like you said, in a way that was real, human, empathetic, but also responding to what their real business needs were?
So every year we actually do an event called Unite, which is a partner and developer conference. And this is basically working with all those third-party app developers, salespeople, web developers who kind of help make the platform what it is and help our merchants kind of do what they need to do. Our executives, we're like, you know what, we're actually going to still do an event. We're going to do it totally virtual. We're going to call it Reunite. We're going to make it accessible to everybody. Basically, we had to pull this event around in about a month, where we had a few months or even a year to pull off, Unite. With the news, we really kind of honed in on media that we had really strong relationships with and tailoring the announcements to them, because we had probably 5 or 10, let's say, products that were going. And we knew that, journalists weren't going to write about all 10. So we had to kind of really be succinct. Our CEO and our execs are predominantly, come from such diverse backgrounds, engineers, sales, finance. They don't come from a comms background. So I'm not going to come in here and say, this is how things are done. I really try to kind of understand what is the identity of the company. And the company is scrappy. It's hardcore. It puts, our stakeholders ahead of anybody else. Everything is driven by, if I was a small business, if I was an entrepreneur, if I have a big business, what is it that I need? And so with the communication side of things, what I learned very fast and and what I really am grateful to our executives, especially my CEO and COO, is for communications, cut the bullshit. There's just no room for it, and there's no time for it. So I think that's the way that comms are going. That's the way that Shopify kind of has operated its comms. It's this quick flurry. It is say what you mean, do what you say, and make sure, it's representing the brand as best as possible.
I want to probe a little bit what you said about certainly during the pandemic, the importance of not sounding tone deaf, right? Of being human in our communication and wanting to ensure that audiences really understand that we get them.
Mhm.
How has that changed during the pandemic? And do you think that that change is going to stick with us?
I think right now in this world, people are stuck at home, people are bored, people are angry, people are scared. And so we take to our computers, and it's easier just to type out your hatred or your praise. I think companies are listening. I know at Shopify, we've had employee activism in the sense of, more diversity. And we're listening. And we, for the first time, released our diversity numbers. And like many tech companies, we can do better.
I have a final question, and you have touched on this throughout our conversation. But it's all about the shift from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder
Yeah.
capitalism, and really, it's taken on new meaning during the pandemic. But to your point, during the whole context of what we've experienced as a society in 2020, how does Shopify interpret that shift? And I'd be interested to know the role of communications in managing it.
Shopify has become known more for its stock price than the work that we're doing, which to be honest sucks. And it shouldn't really be that way. And unfortunately, this is something that the comms team has been battling against, where it used to be, the shareholder kind of narrative here and the stakeholder here. I feel like we're getting better, especially with COVID, because, during the pandemic, you don't really want to hear about the rich getting richer, or don't want to hear about kind of money. You just want to hear again about like small and local businesses surviving, and like what happens to your job, and what does this do for the state of the economy. So to be frank with you, is we've never talked to shareholders. We've never done that in our comms. It's always really been about the merchant. It's always really been about building trust. So being as transparent as possible.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you for your time and for the conversation. And it's been a wonderful few moments spending with you.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. Have a great day.